Hello, everybody. Unlocking VA and FHA credits. How to get 2% VA and 1% FHA towards your closing costs. Good morning. This is Roxanne Govari with Pemberley Realty, along with my partner, Santiago Guerin. And we have an amazing guest today. Louay Yousif is joining us from what's the company's name, Louay?
The full name is Paramount Residential Mortgage Group. It's a mouthful, so we just say PRMG for short.
PRMG. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
And yes, these topics that you are giving us are very exciting topics. I want to say very sexy, but we know that they don't sound so sexy. So let's make them sexy by telling the audience what they are.
So everyone, regardless who you are, a broker, a loan officer, a bank, Wells Fargo, Chase, all of them, we all do pretty much the same type of loans, right? We have a VA loan, and then we have FHA loans. What my company decided to do, and this came from a father whose son is in the Army, and he's currently in the Army now. And the father just thought, you know what? I want to do something more for our active military members and our vets. I don't want to just say thank you to them. I want to do something more, for them. So they thought about different ideas, and they came to our company and said, listen, we want to give a percentage of our income that we receive back to the military member. And would you guys be willing to give at least 2% up to $21,000 of your profit to the company or to these individuals? And so my company looked at it and said, yes, we would. And the way we do that is we all had to come to a decision that we would all lower our compensation. So my compensation got lowered. My company's compensation is small. So all of us cut our compensation in order for us to give this 2%, credit to the buyers. The 2% works in a good way, right? It's a regular VA loan. That doesn't change. Nothing's going to be different about it. Just my company said, how do we give this 2%? So we actually started a nonprofit within our company. Okay. And within our nonprofit of our company, we can give this 2% for free to the military or vets. Because if you don't have this middleman, then the IRS looks at it and says, well, you need to, like, someone needs to pay for the taxes on it. So then our company said, okay, this is what we'll do. And so this is the kind of workaround we do it for them, right? And our best way is it's 2%. So if you are purchasing, let's say, a $500,000 home, and usually doing a VA loan is at least the purchase price is pretty much the loan amount, right? Because it's 100% financing. So 2% off of the 500,000 is $10,000. So we will give you $10,000, not just the closing costs, but also if, let's say, you had a credit card debt, right? That is really high and you can't afford the $500,000 price. We will pay down or pay off that credit card in order to qualify you for that $500,000 home, or even like pay off a car. Whatever we need to do to get you to that 500, if that's what you want. But now, so let's just argue say you qualify easily with the 500, you have no issues. But like all military members, they are either, like depending on how much they get paid, they have a certain amount of money, right? And so we said, okay, let's do this as a closing cost. So $10,000, depending where you are, it's pretty much you have $10,000 in closing costs. And I'll give you an example. Last December in San Diego, we did for a military member who is currently active, makes good money, not excessive, but we got him to purchase a $570,000 condo downtown. That 570,000, 2% was 14,400 is what we got him, right? 57, yeah. And so with all that, then what we did is we asked, no, I'm sorry, 11,400. Like what we asked was the seller to provide an additional $10,000 in closing costs. So that gave you 21,400.
The seller was willing to do that?
Yes, and so the seller was willing to do that. The uh, like military member, his closing costs came up to be 18,700 and some change, right? So let's call it 18,000. Let's call it even 19,000, right? But we had a total of 21,400. So what I told him was, go buy some furniture, have it set right on the, that, and when escrow's about to close, I will pay off with the additional money. We'll pay off that card, so that way you have new furniture when you move in. And that's what he did. And so that got him the closing cost. So he technically uh, had a $5,700 earnest money deposit, which when escrow closed, that all came back to him. And that's all the money he had was the 5,700. So if he couldn't come in with the down payment, or I should say the closing costs, he probably wouldn't have made that decision to go buy the condo. Now
Right.
he's ecstatic.
Right.
I mean, there's a couple of things that we helped him do, but he's just really happy, and it's a great program that works, and it's for everyone.
Okay, that sounds amazing. And how does that work with FHA?
So FHA is the same. The only thing we can't do for FHA is pay off. I mean, we probably could pay off a credit card or two, but we'd have to talk to the underwriting. So, but it's a 1%, the same concept. So what we did was some of us loan officers said, well, if we can do this for VA, why can't we do this for FHA, conventional, and all of the other products that we have? We've already established a nonprofit company. So the company said, yeah, you can. It has to come out of your profit, not the company. So I'm like, okay, then it'll come out of my profit. So when I do FHA loans, and get really small income for me, really nothing. And I don't do it because I work for free. I do it for a couple of reasons. To help realtors find their clients, find a home using an FHA, right? Now, I'm hoping that realtor that I build a relationship with later will be like, hey, look, I have another loan for you that's not an FHA, maybe a conventional, something that, yes, I will make money on that. So that's my whole philosophy is, okay, why can't I just help out these people get into a home? They'll be happy. And then it's a win-win for everybody, the realtor, myself, and the buyers. So
So
that's what I do with that.
let's talk about, just in case that our audience doesn't know, what is the difference between a VA loan and an FHA loan?
So a VA loan is only for military members who have served, who are currently active, or are honorably discharged. And it's also for Gold family members. And a Gold family members, if your significant other has, died in combat, or a family member that has died in combat. That's pretty much where the Gold family members, kind of like work for you there. But you'd have to be in the military in order to do a VA. FHA is for everybody. It it doesn't matter if you're a first time home buyer, a second time home buyer.
Everybody who hasn't owned a property for the past 4 years.
Nope, it doesn't matter. FHA is not restricted to first time home buyers. FHA helps people that have either low FICO scores. Okay, that's one of the biggest thing is the low FICO scores. If you have, let's say, a bankruptcy, FHA's timeline is better than conventional. So let's just take numbers. Like conventional, you have to be 7 years. FHA reduces that time from, let's say, 4 years, right? Just throwing out, that's the kind of things for them. If you're on the FHA, usually it's a lower interest rate, but the FHA has a mortgage insurance, because you're only putting 3.5% down. So that's one other thing about the FHA. It works for a lot of people. Again, it can work for a FICO score of 700 with excellent, credit, with great income. But maybe there was, like right now, let's take an example, right? A conventional loan and an FHA loan, right? A conventional, you can put 3% down, okay? Conventional loans usually have a higher interest rate compared to an FHA loan. Conventional does not charge upfront for mortgage insurance, but it does have monthly mortgage insurance, right? As where FHA has an upfront mortgage insurance, which gets added to your loan, but it's also refundable in a 3-year period. depending how long you've owned the home. And if you refinance, it gets refunded. But then you have a monthly insurance payment as well, right? Which is separate from everything else. So, but on a conventional, let's say your minimum is a 640 FICO score. FHA, you can go 580. So you can still go lower if there is some credit issues. Like for instance, I have a client in New Jersey. He has bought 3 homes in the past, I think 4 or 5 years. He's moved a lot. So he buy a home and then his company like relocates him. He's like, okay, great, let me sell. So what his issue was, and he didn't know this for the longest time until the like second time he bought a home, was the electrical company in New Jersey couldn't find him, so they put it on his credit report as a charge off.
Mm.
So that lowered a 720 FICO score all the way down to like 645.
Oh, wow.
And so he had no idea, and so it kept hitting his credit report. And so when he bought the second home, he's like, wait a minute, I have excellent credit, I don't understand what's going on here. And then when we looked at it, the utility company said, the collection for them said, well, you know what, you can pay this off and we'll put it to zero. And I explained to them, I said, no, they have to remove it because it's not your fault, but they wouldn't remove it. So his score dropped, right? So what we had to do was use FHA because it was below a 640 FICO score. Actually, it was 622. So we just used FHA to help him acquire that second home or that home, that he bought the second time. So those are the kind of like things that you look at between FHA and the VA. But a VA, again, it's only for military members. Like if you served or have served or a Gold Star family member. That's only two. And FHA is for everybody,
In-
except probably I-10 people or individuals like, foreign nationals. You have to have, like permanent resident, like you have to be a permanent resident. You have to have a FICO score. You have to have credit. Like you have to pay taxes. You have to have a social security. So it works for them.
I always thought that FHA was if you are a first time buyer, or if you haven't owned a house, or if you haven't owned the property for 4 years. In other words, if you own a property and then let's say you own a condo and then you want to expand and you want to go into a house, you cannot get an FHA because you already own a property.
No, you're using, so FHA is primary, right? You can't have an investment. I mean, I've never done investments on FHAs. It's just usually it's primary for them, right? So if you were moving from one area, right? Let's say you had a conventional loan in Florida, right? That's how you originally bought it. And you came out here to San Diego and your scores, let's just say change, right? And you'll say, okay, I would like to use an FHA loan. Okay, great. That home in Florida is no longer your primary. It's not an FHA, so now you have an FHA loan here in San Diego or wherever you want to be. That's like you can redo that for you. It's
What
not
if you
specific.
what if you what if you have a condo in San Diego? That's an FHA loan, and then now you want to expand and you want to buy a house, and so the condo is your primary. Now you want to buy a house as your primary, and the loan on your condo is an FHA. Can you get another FHA loan to purchase the house?
If it's your primary, no, because FHA won't do. It's only for primary. So like you're looking at different. Sorry, I had to handle one thing for a client that just texted me says I need an emergency. I said no, you're okay, don't worry. Uh, Instead of just telling him. So he was just. But no, that's where um, FHA. No, FHA is, like I said, it's for primary people. You're not going to have any like issues with them in that kind of like regard. It's it is designed, or it was designed for first time home buyers, right? That's what it was for. But it's not limited to first time homeowners anymore, right? You can buy a 1 to 4 unit on an FHA if you choose to. Okay,
As long
like
as you're
FHA.
occupying one of the units.
I'm sorry.
As long as you're occupying one of the units.
Yes, as long as you occupy the one of them, that's your main home. Typically, on FHA loans, they're not intended for vacation homes, like what we're saying, and or most investment properties, right? So you're like just basically using it for funding. That's what we do. But there are some exceptions to FHA loans. Um, I don't, when I worked at the bank, they limited the type of loans that you can do in FHA. Now that I moved to a direct lender, which also has the ability of being a brokered out loans in case, because between a direct lender and brokering loans, like there are certain guidelines that Fannie and Freddie Mac require. I have a situation right now where a client is trying to buy a condo, and first we were looking at FHA, but when it came back, the requirements for the condo wouldn't work for FHA. Okay, the condominium said it was FHA approved. We looked into the project itself. It was expired. At one point, it was, so it was expired, and then we took it to a conventional, right? And then when we did the conventional and we looked at the property wasn't approved via conventional, right? Then we find out why it wasn't approved is because this new California that has an SB 326 for balconies and stairwells caused an issue, right? So you're going, okay, so I can't do FHA when it did say before. Now it's no longer approved because probably of the SB 326. The conventional doesn't work now. So what do we do? So now we can go to basically our other brokers that are, what we consider non-QM, which I can still do the loan, but they don't look at the project as, okay, is it SB 326 approved? Is all of this stuff. So there's different ways about going on for a project. So yes, it just depends. And so, but you have to be very flexible. And I could have been very flexible before if I was working at Wells Fargo or
Mm.
Bank of America or one of them, because it would have been like FHA, I can't do conventional. I'm sorry, I have to refer you to somebody else. Now
Yeah.
I can go from FHA conventional to non QM and get the deal done for you. No matter how I structure it, I can get it done. And the good thing is, as long as it's with my company that we're doing it, we can still give the 1% on the FHA and the 2% on the VA. I just can't do that to, brokers or people like that that we have to deal with.
Question for you. Um, we are in an election year,
Yes.
and there's a lot flying around with regards to the election. So the latest is Measure A, that's on the ballot. And if I'm understanding it correctly, it is within the city of San Diego.
Okay. I'm just trying to remember, like, because I know there's so many different measures. Uh, let's look at it real quick. If you give me a second, let me look at it.
Yeah, I can take it out because I got my ballot yesterday, and Measure A was on it. And as a matter of fact, I was
The
talking
non-primary home tax.
I was
Yeah.
talking to one of the title reps that we work with, and he actually was explaining it that yeah, this is a non primary home tax, and so definitely is something that we have to learn about, and I guess one way or another, form an opinion because we need to vote on it. So, what's your opinion on it? What? Yeah, what's your take on Measure A?
So the Measure A, from what I do understand from it, is really for second homes. That is what it's focused on, right? So the way the cities looks at it, and all these individuals are looking at it, saying, okay, if you are a homeowner that can afford a second home, that means you live in some other state. And it's funny because you can live in the same state and still have a second home. It's just a distance, right? Like between, like you can live East County, and if you have a condo down in Coronado or PB, that's acceptable because the areas are completely different. So they're saying that the second home should be taxed because
So, I saw an argument yesterday that said that the military personnel, if they're deployed and their homes are sitting empty, they're also going to be taxed.
so, but their homes won't be empty. 9 out of 10, a military member is going to rent out that home. Military members are not buying their first home in San Diego and thinking, oh, I'm going to the yes, the government does deploy you or moves you wherever you're at, right? So to them is I have this home in San Diego, I got a great deal on it. So should I sell it or should I keep it and rent it?
Mhm.
Their biggest thing is they will rent it. And if they rent it, they're going to rent it to a long-term tenant.
Mhm.
So it won't affect them.
Got it. Got it.
It's
Okay.
only for people that have second homes that would like to visit San Diego once a year and the house stays vacant, but they can afford the keeper on the house, they can afford all the electricity on the house, they can even afford the landscaper or someone to come in once a month and clean the house when they're not there. That's where the tax should be on.
That's
Which I
that
don't disagree. I mean, I don't disagree for having it because they stay vacant, but I don't know how.
as a real estate agent, I disagree because it will affect the sales in our region. And given that, we are a desirable region, given the fact that we have beaches and we probably get a fair number of people that buy a second home here. I think it will affect our market adversely, but at the same time, we need revenue for the city. We need revenue for the state. So if they're trying to become creative in creating revenue that's going to actually service the community, I guess what can we do?
Right. So
It's a
let's
necessary.
say, but see, here's the interesting part, right? Let's say now a person in Arizona decides that he wants to come buy a home here as a second home. Well, the when you look at a interest rate, and because of what happened during COVID with Fannie and Freddie Mac, when you're buying a second home that is conforming loan amounts, right, of what agree with Fannie and Freddie Mac, the interest rate are pretty much the same as an investment rate. So if you're buying a second home, let's say at 20% down, right, the rates are going to be pretty high because Fannie and Freddie realized that so many people were having second homes, but they were renting them out and they saw this stuff, right? So they said, well, forget that. If you guys are going to do that, we're going to start raising the interest rate. Okay. So let's take that same scenario that you just said. I'm in Arizona. I'm going to do a second home here. Let's say like San Diego passes, you know, like Measure A. Now I have to pay taxes. Well, guess what? I'm going to start renting out my home and I'm going to come to San Diego, which I only do once a year. Let's say in the month of June, I won't rent out my house all year round. Let's say if I rent out my house for 6 months out of the year, it's no longer a second home. Now it's an investment. The county of San Diego just lost that money because that owner just decided, okay, you know what? I'm
Mhm.
going to do second home. That's it. Forget that.
Yeah.
So it's just, I mean, what a lot of people don't realize or what they don't do is think forward. How will this affect? What will this do? Now, if you did tax these people with second homes, would there be more homes for potential homeowners, right? The people that live here, would that work for them? Is that going to be an advantage for them? Now, not to say that they can't all afford it, but I heard that or read that if the rates drop 1%, 5 million people are able to jump into the market. Not to say 5 million people are here in San Diego, but
Yeah.
5 million people throughout the United States can buy a home now because the rates have dropped and now they can qualify.
Yeah.
So if homes do drop, or let's say the rate drops, probably homes do increase because the rate and there's multiple people putting offers. But do you get more potential people here in San Diego or anywhere else to buy that house as where before they couldn't because an individual that makes more money is able to buy a second home easily. So you have to
All
look at it
right.
different ways.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Good points. Good points. All right. So, So thank you so much for joining us today and for going over these points. And an audience, this is Louay, who is our lender friend. And if you want to get in touch with Louay, he's reachable on his phone number, which is right there. You can also reach him on his email address, which is right there. And he is with uh, P-
PRMG.
PRMG Mortgage Lending Company. All right. Thank you so much, Louay, for
Thank
joining
you, guys.
us. And audience, if you are trying to get a hold of us, um, uh, there is, let me see, where do I have? There is my phone number. And if you are trying to get in touch with Santiago, there is his phone number. And you can also reach us at our website, or we also like to hang out on Instagram or on Facebook, and we would appreciate it if you give us a follow at either one of these locations. And if you are watching us on YouTube, Santi, what should I do?
Thumbs up and subscribe, definitely, to see all our future videos.
Thumbs up and subscribe. And again, thank you for watching, and we will see you at another one of our videos next time. Have a great day, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.